Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're heading into a pretty dark place. We're looking at the heart of academia through R.F. Kuang's novel, Katabasis.
That's right.
And for you listening, our goal is simple. Cut through the complexity, get you the key insights from this really intense book.
It's definitely intense.
The title, Katabasis, it's Greek, means descent, and the book itself is this wild mix of dark fantasy, deep psychological drama, and some seriously sharp academic satire.
Absolutely. And our mission today, based on what the sources say, is to really unpack the novel's main argument.
Which is?
That this whole idea of a journey to hell, it's not just about, spiritual stuff anymore. Kuang uses it as a powerful metaphor for the kind of moral, emotional corruption you find inside these big academic institutions.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. And the setup really highlights it. We've got Alice Law, a Cambridge grad student, and her rival, Peter Murdoch. They're both out of reeling because their mentor, Professor Grimes, died mysteriously.
During a magical experiment, no less, which went wrong.
Exactly. Adds that fantasy element right away. Okay, let's unpack this. They have to go down into hell, like literally descend into an underworld to get Grimes' soul back. But why? What's driving them?
And this is the kicker, isn't it?
It really is. It's not love, it's not loyalty.
Not even revenge.
Nope. It's because they desperately need his recommendation letter, posthumously, to basically save their academic careers.
That one detail just flips the whole script. It tells you immediately, this isn't your standard myth, it's a critique, a really biting one.
Okay, so let's dig into that. The mythological roots seem pretty important here.
They are. Kuang is definitely playing in a well-established sandbox. She's taking the classic mythic journey, think Dante's Inferno, think Orpheus going down to get Eurydice.
Those epic descents.
Exactly. But she modernizes it. She shifts the whole focus. It's not about spiritual sin leading to damnation in the traditional sense.
It's about intellectual damnation. What does that actually look like in the book?
It's about the corruption of the pursuit of knowledge. When getting validation, getting that approval becomes more important than finding truth. It's that sin of sacrificing your own authentic self, your own ideas, just to get ahead, just to get that gold star from the system.
And academia is the perfect setting for that kind of pressure.
The perfect setting.
And the hell they go into, it reflects that, right?
Yeah.
The sources say it's like a twisted Cambridge campus.
Oh, absolutely. It's not fire and brimstone in the usual way. It's described as this nightmarish labyrinth.
Like what kind of details?
Think corridors that loop back on themselves, libraries where the shelves are literally collapsing under the weight of unread theses.
Wow.
Lecture halls filled with these silent, judging echoes of past academic failures. It's all designed to feel unnervingly familiar yet deeply wrong.
So the environment itself is part of the torment.
Precisely. Because the descent isn't just a physical journey, it's a psychological one.
Okay.
Kuang makes hell deeply personal for Alice and Peter.
Oh.
Each circle they pass through, it's not just populated by random signals from history. It forces them to confront their own specific failings, their insecurities.
Like their academic sins.
Exactly. For Alice, maybe it's a circle reflecting her self-betrayal all the time she compromised her own thoughts to please Grimes. For Peter, it's probably confronting the emptiness of his arrogance, his entitlement.
So it's weaponizing their own anxieties against them, their guilt, their ambition.
It absolutely is. The setting becomes a mirror. And by the time they get to the deepest parts, the message is unavoidable.
Like yes.
Hell isn't just some external place they've stumbled into. It's, and this is a quote I saw, a reflection of the emotional and moral corruption within academia itself.
So the horror they face outside is just mirroring the horror they've already accepted inside themselves.
That's the chilling takeaway. The rot within the institution becomes this literal cosmic horror landscape.
Okay, let's explore that core metaphor more. Hell as academic exploitation.
Right. The sources really lean into this. The structure of the descent, the whole journey down, it maps almost perfectly onto the experience of being a graduate student.
That feeling of constantly striving but never arriving.
Exactly. That Sisyphean struggle. It's a system built on these endless cycles. You strive, you get judged, you feel despair, you strive again.
You finish one massive project and the reward is an even harder one.
Or just the crushing realization that the goalposts have moved again. The path to the next bit of validation is always longer, always more torturing.
And the analysis connects the circles of hell to specific stages of grad life. That sounds painfully accurate.
It really does. You start with that burning ambition, right? Then comes the burnout.
Oh, yeah.
Then the isolation, feeling cut off. And finally, that deep self-doubt where you question everything. The novel just gives these feelings monstrous shapes.
So the monsters they fight aren't traditional demons.
Often, no. They're described as things like twisted versions of rejected grant proposals or scathing peer reviews turned into creatures.
Or just mountains of unmanageable research data.
Exactly. It's the system demanding impossible output while offering less and less real human value. That's the exploitation Kuang is highlighting.
Which brings us to Alice and Peter. They're not just random students caught in this.
No, they're deliberately chosen archetypes. They represent two sides of the same damaged academic coin.
How the system breeds both competition and self-destruction.
Precisely. Alice is the guilt-ridden one, always seeking approval, haunted by imposter syndrome, basically internalizing every judgment the system throws at her.
She sacrifices herself for validation.
Right. Peter, on the other hand, he's all arrogance, entitlement. He thinks the system owes him success because he's brilliant, or thinks he is.
So they're foils. The hell they experience must hit them differently.
Completely. It's tailored to break them based on their core flaw. Alice's hell is probably feeling unworthy, never good enough.
And Peter's.
Peter's hell is likely the terrifying realization that his supposed brilliance, his entitlement, means nothing without that external stamp of approval from someone like Grimes, that his worth isn't inherent.
It's conditional. Ouch.
And looming over both of them, even in death, is Professor Grimes. He's key to the toxic mentorship theme.
His ghost isn't just a plot point. It represents the whole broken system.
Absolutely. He was the gatekeeper. His death doesn't free them. It just makes his power, his judgment, even more absolute, because now it's unobtainable, almost divine.
So his ghost symbolizes that cycle where validation from the mentor replaces actual learning, actual truth.
Yeah, students become worshipers. Professors become these untouchable gods whose opinion determines your fate.
And Grimes' fatal experiment, it wasn't just an accident.
Metaphorically, no. It's the ultimate outcome of that unchecked power, that intellectual hubris fostered by the system. When validation is the only goal, the pursuit of knowledge itself becomes dangerous, corrupted.
It forces students to chase power and allows professors to think their judgment is infallible.
Which corrupts everyone involved. It's a devastating critique.
And that critique lands so hard, partly because of the way Kuang writes it. Let's talk about the style and structure. It sounds unique.
Oh, it is. The prose itself is described as, lush, very literary, but also really biting.
Yeah,
sharp.
A mix of things.
Yeah, it blends that academic satire with psychological horror and throws in a heavy dose of Gothic atmosphere. It makes for a very dense, very intense read.
Not exactly light beach reading.
Definitely not. And what's really interesting is how the structure reinforces the themes.
How does it do that?
The sources point out this metafictional layer. The novel is structured almost like a thesis.
Like chapters in a dissertation.
Sort of, yeah. You have narrative sections, but then you also get footnotes, citations, even marginal notes that seem to comment on or argue with the main text.
Wow, that sounds demanding for the reader. Why do that?
Well, it pulls the reader into that academic mindset. It makes you constantly question the text's authority, just like an academic paper is always subject to critique.
So there's no single objective truth presented.
Exactly. It mirrors the anxiety of academia itself, where knowledge feels less like a clear light and more like this precarious argument you're constantly trying to prop up with references. It really blurs the line between the story and the act of scholarship.
Makes the reader feel like they're part of the process that's driving Alice and Peter mad.
That's the idea. It's a very clever, if challenging, technique.
And how did critics react to this boldness?
Generally, very positively, especially regarding the critique. Reviews called it things like a blistering critique of academia disguised as dark fantasy.
High praise.
Lots of praise for its fearlessness and satirizing that whole world of academic elitism. The comparison that kept coming up was The Secret History meets Dante's Inferno.
It gives you a pretty good picture.
It does, but it's important for you, the listener, to know it wasn't universally loved for its pacing.
Because of the structure.
Yeah, those long internal thoughts, the footnotes, the sort of academic tangents. Some readers found it understandably dense or maybe philosophically heavy. Takes work. It definitely demands patience. But for readers who love dark academia, who love that intense psychological stuff, they seem to adore it. Its ambition is undeniable.
Okay. So, we've been through this literary hell. We analyzed the satire, the characters, the style. What does this all mean for us? Let's distill the key lessons. What are the takeaways here?
Right, the so what? Well, synthesizing the analyses, the novel really serves as a stark warning about institutional pressure and ambition. The first big lesson seems to be, ambition without purpose leads to self-destruction.
Chasing that letter, that external validation.
Exactly. When the need for validation becomes the driver, the whole process of learning, of discovery, it just curdles. It becomes punishment, a kind of self-inflicted damnation.
Okay, that makes sense. What's next?
Second, tied to that personalized hellscape we talked about, hell is a mirror of the self.
It's not just out there, it's in you.
Right. The book argues that real damnation isn't some external judgment. It's the internal refusal to face your own flaws, your own moral compromises. You basically create your own hell, and the environment just shows it back to you.
Powerful idea. Third lesson.
This comes back to Grimes. Mentorship can be both sacred and toxic. That power imbalance between teacher and student is inherent, and it can foster growth, yes, but it can also cause real trauma.
Creating dependency, manipulation.
And those cycles can continue long after the mentor figure is gone. It shakes people profoundly.
And finally, the way out.
Maybe the toughest lesson. Redemption comes through awareness, not achievement. The path out of this psychological hell isn't actually getting the recommendation letter or winning the academic game.
It's not about success in the traditional sense.
No, it's about understanding how the system manipulates you, seeing the game for what it is, and finding a way to forgive yourself for participating in it. That's the beginning of freedom.
So Katabasis ends up being this really deep psychological thesis on obsession, guilt, the cruelty of ambition.
Yeah, and it holds up this incredibly uncomfortable mirror to anyone who's ever felt that pressure, that crushing weight of not being enough in any competitive system.
It sounds like a demanding read, but a rewarding one.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I think the novel is ultimately asking about the true price of knowledge.
What do you mean?
It suggests that any genuine descent into truth, any real intellectual effort, it costs something. It might cost you a piece of your innocence, or maybe, as the book implies, a piece of your sanity.
And the ending reflects that cost. It's ambiguous.
Deeply ambiguous. From what the sources say, only one character makes it back from the underworld.
Carrying the trauma and the truth.
Exactly. And the sources emphasize the real question wasn't whether they could save Grimes, it was whether they could save themselves.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. The novel suggests, pretty chillingly, that hell begins with the desire to be seen as worthy. So think about it. What are the recommendation letters in your own life?
Yeah, those external stamps of approval.
What are you chasing right now that might feel essential, but could actually be costing you a piece of your soul, a piece of your authentic self? That's definitely something worth mulling over.